Hi, Ken Coscia here, lead instructor and international training director for the Silva Method. Welcome to today's video lesson on the power of a thought. Today in this lesson, I'd like to share with you a foundational, fundamental, even a universal principle that is the underlying framework for any and all personal and/or professional development programs. Sounds like a bold statement, I know. However, when you think about it, some of this you probably know already. The challenge is implementing it, following through, sticking with it. So let's take a look. The fundamental principle I'm talking about lays the groundwork, the foundation that if you want to change some behavior, if you want to rewire your brain so that you stop sabotaging yourself and create new, more positive habits, if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, a salesperson, and you want to increase business, this is necessary. If you're an athlete, you're participating in the Tough Mudder competitions, or you're in CrossFit, or any kind of athletic endeavor, this is essential for your performance. If you're concerned about your communications with your friends, your coworkers, your spouse, your children, and you want to have a more positive influence on them, again, this framework is necessary to adhere to, for it is what everything is built on to achieve the success you want. So let's take a look, closer look. First, let me just give you an overview of the 4 principles that make up this framework. What I'm calling the power of a thought to manifest, to co-create the life of your design, to be defined by vision of the future, to manifest. There's so many different expressions that basically mean the same thing. One thing we all share is we want to be happier and enjoy more fulfilling lives, and to thrive while we're doing it. So the first step, there are 4 principles, and principle number 1 is, let me just show this way, it has to do with your thoughts. It begins with the thought. So your thought is the catalyst, the trigger, the light switch, so to speak, to elicit what? Feelings. Those feelings, once we get into a feeling mode, yes, it's the juice that drives us. Yes, it leads to the emotions that are the defining moment of whether we succeed or not. Those feelings elicit emotions within us, which cause, and this happens very quickly, causes the brain to what? Trigger, release neuropeptides. And those chemical messengers of the brain will then affect our physiology. And that physiology affects what? Our behaviors, our actions, what we do or don't do, and how effective we are in what we're doing. So ultimately, the results we get are what? Dependent on the first prior 3 principles. So think about it for a moment. Let's dive in a little bit more closely to this. And I want you to just think for a moment in your own life. What's relevant for you? I've been doing this work for nearly 5 decades. Wow. I started way back in 1971. It is my great good fortune. I feel it's a blessing. I'm so thankful and appreciative I got started so early in my life. And it's really an honor to serve in this capacity. I've had the chance to travel to 27 different nations, working side by side with translators in a network called the Silva Method. We've been in about 100 and something different countries. I serve as the training director. And for better than 3 decades, I've served in that capacity working with people. Well over live, we're talking now, in live trainings, small groups, large groups, well over a couple of 100,000 people. Now, I tell you this because even with that, we now call it the Silva Method. It's a 4-day training experience of life and intuition system where we spend 4 solid 10-hour days with all sorts of tools, techniques, strategies, and practice. Now, obviously, I can't cover all that in this short video. But what I'm saying to you is that this principle, these four principles are the very foundation that we spend all that time building on. And perhaps you, in whatever area of personal development you've looked at. I've studied them, just about them all. And again, you'll see that these 4 principles I've mentioned are at the root cause of whether you succeed or not. So I want you to think about in your life what's important to you. So if you're an athlete, or if you're a CrossFitter, or if you like to play cards, or any kind of, you play golf, doesn't matter. You know that your performance is dependent here. You can greatly exceed it. If you want to improve your sales, if you want to build your business, if you're an entrepreneur, the same holds true with your lover, your friends, anybody you want to influence. So it begins with what? Let's go deeper into it. The thoughts. So what we're talking about is the thoughts, the ideas, what we dwell on. And we all know that where attention goes, energy flows. Whatever we give attention to, we give energy to. And whatever we give our precious time and energy to, we tend to what? Build on. It multiplies. And we become almost like a magnet attracting into our life by virtue of our dominant thoughts. Now, I'm not talking airy-fairy, woo-woo, like it's been misunderstood in the past. It's a valid scientific or neuropsychological principle that all the brain scans will now verify for you. So those thoughts, those ideas, if you find yourself ruminating on failures, mishaps, resentment, feelings of lack, what you don't have, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? Not in a superstitious way, because those thoughts, when we have those thoughts, right, we begin to feel bad. We begin to feel less than. We begin to feel like we're not good enough. We can't measure up. And when we start feeling like that, we get caught up into the emotions. And maybe even those emotions are locked into past experiences that we associate with it. And we begin to what? Relive those past negative, troublesome experiences. And it's almost like it's fulfilling or verifying we're not good enough. If and when we go there, we're more likely to make mistakes, have accidents. If you're in any kind of, athlete, or could you be dancing, you're more likely to what? Make a mistake, because your muscles will constrict. And you're more likely to get injured and or make a mistake in business, in communicating with people, because our thoughts, which trigger and elicit these feelings, which then lead to the emotions, really run our physiology. How is that possible? Because the brain, in the subconscious level, how is it possible to affect our physiology and our behavior and our actions? At these innermost subconscious-like levels, what we don't pay attention to when we're on automatic, right? Living our lives, the brain cannot distinguish and does not distinguish between what we vividly imagine and what we actually experience. So if we're ruminating, dwelling on failure, worrying, oh my God, what if this? The brain begins to release the neuropeptides that begin to affect the body, the physiology, and we begin to experience it. Now, I'm oversimplifying it, but that's the essence of it. We begin to experience it as if it has already happened, even if it hasn't. And if it has happened already, we re-experience it. And then we what? Reinforce the pattern. We strengthen that neural pathway. And then we're more likely to get stuck in the same old, endless loop of those repetitive patterns that no longer serve us. And that holds true with anyone. So we've got to cultivate more creative thought. Again, it then affects those neuropeptides, the physiology, our actions. So how we feel. When you're speaking, if you're a singer, it'll affect your voice quality. Or a speaker or a coach. It'll affect your body language, how you stand, your posture, how you look. Even at the most subtle levels, it'll affect your tone, your eyes, your face, how you look. And most people are not thinking, unless they've been trained about it, and they're on automatic also. And they'll walk away and say, I don't know, something's not right with him. Something's not right with her. Something's up. But meanwhile, you might just be dwelling on a challenge you've had with your family, something you're upset about, someone you're worried about. And it has nothing to do with your profession, nothing to do with your client. but they don't know that. And unfortunately, too often people are just quick to jump. People often don't even remember what we tell them. They remember how we made them feel. So you see why this is so important? Because what we're thinking, our thoughts, cause the feelings to get elicited, the emotions, it affects our physiology, and we project that out. We radiate out that energy. Yes, I'm talking science here. And they get a vibe, they get a feeling. So unless they stop and think about it, because it's all perspective, you run the risk of them misinterpreting, getting the wrong idea, and you won't get the sale. You break through, you won't think clearly. And if we're constantly ruminating on negative, worrisome thoughts, it's going to constrict blood vessels, and we get less blood, less oxygen to the brain, which will impede your higher thinking functions of the frontal lobes. And you'll be less likely to get ideas, solutions. Creativity gets stuck. It's a leading cause of creativity, people getting stuck, what they call writer's block, or they're just not flowing. It's the leading cause of getting out of that flow state, where it seems like the universe has got your back. And of course, all this affects your results. Now, I know you understand that principle, and perhaps this isn't new to you. Are you actually, though, implementing it? Are you respecting it for that? If you're like me and the rest of us, the bigger your goal, the higher your aspirations, the grander that life vision, the more likely you are to face some struggle, some challenge, some adversity. It's just the way it is. Nowhere in life is it written that life is easy. Sometimes it's downright difficult. And when we manage it, when we seek help, when we do whatever it takes to get through it, we build character, and we're more likely to succeed. Because the risk is getting stuck in the same old, because it's a familiar pattern, and we're comfortable staying there. So guys, let's just recap. And how then can you do that? So some ideas for you, some takeaways. First, we're looking at what? The thoughts being the catalyst, the light switch, so to speak, to trigger the feelings, which cause the emotions to be listed, the brain to trigger the neuropeptides, and then that affects our physiology, our performance, and ultimately the results, the outcome, right? So the first thing to do is, I want you to start cultivating more creative thoughts. I want you to start cultivating your imagination. And a simple way to do that is, if you read a self-help book, if you read an autobiography, that helps. It inspires us. It gives us ideas. There are courses you can take. I hope one day you'll join me in the Silva Method immersion experience of life and intuition system, or whatever it is that you do, but it ain't going to happen sitting back, doing nothing. Or maybe you're watching some videos. I've got some great videos on my YouTube channel. And there are so many other great videos out there. But we have to take action, right? So those thoughts, those ideas stimulate us, right? Those are ways we can cultivate. We can model success, people we admire. And here's a simple exercise. Keeping all that in mind, you can do this. I want you to do this at night before you go to bed. It'll help you sleep. It'll help you to have better, more creative dreams. Or do it during the day as a way to start the day. If you're a meditator, great. Incorporate this into your meditation practice. And if you're not, it's okay. Just sit back. 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. It doesn't take long. Eyelids closed, and allow a few slow, deep breaths. And then daydream, imagine, cultivate creative inspiration by imagining your best self, as if you're actually there already. Imagine your ideal future. Imagine the way you'd like to be. Oh, come on. You know what? I find it interesting. Like I said, I've been teaching these principles for nearly 50 years. I've influenced over 200,000 people. Our organization has influenced millions of people. Most of the big thought leaders, the big names out there, got their start with the Silva Method, by the way. If you search and listen to them sometimes, they're so generous, some of them, in giving their referrals. However, the point is, it's a science to it. In neuropsychology and based on brain scans, we know that it's one of the healthiest, most productive things you can do. To imagine, to daydream, 30 seconds, a minute, 2, best possible scenarios, your ideal self. do this. Please do this. You don't have to believe a word I'm saying. Just do it and find out for yourself. And then notice when you get into that state, appreciate it, feel good, as if it's happened already. That will elevate a sense of hope and optimism. And when you have hope and optimism, your frontal lobes fire and you're more likely to get ideas, innovations. Then, of course, you need to act on them. Then, of course, you need to develop some strategies or a plan. Well, how are we going to arrive there? But it begins with the thought. So whatever it takes, start cultivating creative, hopeful, optimistic thoughts. So I truly hope you find this of great value, and more importantly, just do it. And if you'd like more or you resonate with this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you resonate with this and as you find it of value, please help me share the word, share it with friends. That will help support my work. That will help me to encourage me and inspire me. It'll help me to understand what more to do or what more to add content. And it'll also perhaps help your friends. Because we're in this together, and the big reason why I do this is it is my dream, it is my hope that we all will contribute somehow, some way to make our lives better, our family, our friends, our community, our nation, our world. Man, we got a lot of work. And I can say, going from 71 when I began to now, things have improved. And people are far more open to these ideas than ever before. So we have made progress, and we have a lot more to do. So welcome aboard. Thank you for listening. And if you're resonating further with this and you'd like to follow more of my work, check out my website, Silva Method of Connecticut. That's silvamethodct.com. And remember, you are far more than what you appear to be. In fact, I believe in you. I believe you're better. And my intention for you, for me, the mantra I sing to myself is do good. Make a big difference. Have fun while you're doing it, and thrive.